Hi, I'm Neil Beck. I was a doctor in Perth, Western Australia for 53 years. First of all in hospitals, then for many years a family doctor in the suburbs. And as we didn't get a medical school in Perth until 1959, we were short of specialists. So as a family doctor, I did a lot of things that family doctors don't do today. Helped to bring 800 babies into the world. Did lots of tonsillectomies and appendicectomies and vasectomies and broken bones and all sorts of things. But eventually we got enough specialists, so my work was mainly mainly consultations, home and hospital visits. Altogether, in 53 years, I had 500,000 consultations, home and hospital visits, and saw almost everything that can happen to human beings. Well, some things don't happen in Perth in Australia, thank goodness, but saw a lot of stuff. And what I saw, what I felt was the most important thing that I learned was that the most important thing in life is mental health. If you're mentally healthy, you can get everything else. If you're not mentally healthy, you may be hungry, homeless, or an addict. So mental health, number one. And that helps us get 5 other very important things. They are good relationships, high feel-good endorphins chemistry. Endorphins, that's endogenous morphines. There are over 20 chemicals that we produce in our brain and glands that stop pain and distress and boost the immune system. So a strong immune system and physical health, no addictions. So mental health, number one. Number 2, good relationships. Number 3, high feel good endorphins chemistry. Number 4, strong immune system. Number 5, physical health. And number 6, no addictions. But almost everyone's feelings, thinking and habits are sometimes hurt. Mental health is basically having good feelings, normal warning feelings, good thinking and good habits. But almost everyone runs into trouble at some stage. Some people only minor trouble. Sadly, a lot of people quite severe trouble. And the problem was that the mental health tools were so weak that there was never going to be enough effective mental health care for all the people who needed it to get it quickly. And if you don't get mental health care quickly, problems cause problems which cause problems, and there's a great risk that if you're suffering badly, you're tempted to get relief on the streets, and everything on the streets is addictive. And in the late 1990s in Perth, we had a big heroin epidemic. Perth had been, because it's the most isolated or second most isolated city in the world, escaped some of the street drug problems earlier, but it caught up with us in the late 1990s in a big way. We had a terrible heroin epidemic. People were dying right, left and centre, and young people would tell me that they were the last person standing in their group of friends. Everyone else had OD'd on heroin. So I thought I'd better find out about heroin, and I started to work in an addiction clinic 10 hours a week in 1997. And I wanted to know what caused addiction. In health, as in most things, you want to know causes. if you know causes, you know how to fix the problems, and if you fix the problems properly because you know the causes, then you don't have relapses. But I couldn't find anyone who could tell me what caused addiction. Oh, they're just dickheads chasing highs, was what some people said. So I went to all the addiction clinics in Perth and Sydney and couldn't find a single addiction worker who was clear about what causes addictions. And then one day in the clinic where I was working 10 hours a week, I saw 15 heroin addicts, and 5 of them had ADD, ADHD, and they were a terrible mess because they were undiagnosed, untreated. And it was clear as I went into their history that they started off with a troubled childhood because of their ADD, ADHD. They then had a poor education. They didn't do well at school, and they copped a lot of flack because they tended to disturb the classroom, and the teachers came down on them for that. So they tended to leave school early with a poor education and then have a poor job and not be paid very well, or even be unemployed. So there was a general idea around at the time that addiction caused mental health problems, but I realized that it was mental health problems caused addictions. Of course, addictions often made the mental health problems worse. But once I realized that a third of the heroin addicts I was seeing had ADD, ADHD, I looked very carefully, and I found that there were about 10 common mental health disorders in the addicts. And most addicts had 2 or 3, not just 1, 2 or 3, even 4. I still remember one poor woman who had 5. So what were they? The commonest was worry anxiety disorders, social anxiety, phobias, panic attacks, obsessive compulsive disorder, worry anxiety disorders. The second one was major depression. The third one was ADD, ADHD. The fourth one was bipolar disorder. Then there was post-traumatic stress disorder, and then there was what I called IAD, irritability anger disorder, or really irritability anger violence disorder. And there was a terrible amount of domestic violence happening. And then there was another one that I called PTEF, post-traumatic. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, but there were post-traumatic evil focus disorders. There were people who had had terrible things happen to them that upset them so much that they couldn't face them, so they focused on other people's problems instead. They focused on Guantanamo Bay, or on what terrible things the CIA was doing, or on conspiracy theories, and that was pretty miserable because they tended to develop friendships with people doing the same, and that was all very miserable. So PTEF. Then there was schizophrenia. Then there was crashed self-esteem and self-confidence, and then there was autism. And why was it that there was not enough help? Well, it was a vicious cycle. What happened was that at the main addiction clinic in Perth, the health department's big 6-doctor clinic, they had a 2 months waiting list, 8 weeks waiting list. If you came along and you said, I've got heroin addiction, please help me, they'd say, come back in 8 weeks. Well, only about 40% of them came back in 8 weeks. The others were in hospital, in prison, in a cemetery, or on the streets as drug dealers to pay for their own drugs. And the problem was that today we do everything with tools. We have lots of tools. I'm old enough to remember that in the kitchen where there was only two tools. One was a big tin dish that you'd wash your cups and plates and knives and forks in, and the other was a wood stove. Oh, I'm sorry, there was a third one. That was a broom. But now there's lots of tools in the kitchen. There's gas, there's electricity, there's electric stoves and gas stove you can just switch off and on. There's refrigerator, there's dishwasher, there's cutters and grinders and all sorts of things. And everywhere today there's good tools. If there isn't a good tool for something that has to be done, someone will make a good tool, will develop a good tool. But in mental health and addiction, there were only two tools, and they both had two very big faults. One tool was medicines. It had the very big fault that so many medicines were addictive. Virtually all the medicines for the commonest problem, worry, anxiety, were addictive. Originally barbiturates, then benzodiazepines, Valium, Seropax, Mogadon, and then Ambien, Stilnox, all addictive. I still remember one man I had referred to me who was taking 17 Stilnox tablets a day. 17 sleeping tablets a day. And the other weakness of medicines was they worked too slowly. When you get panic attacks or post-traumatic stress disorder attack or something like that, you want medicine that works fast. But that was nearly all tablets and capsules, and you swallow a tablet or a capsule, has to go right down your gut, takes between half an hour and 1 hour before it starts to work, and it's 1 to 2 hours before it's working strongly. Just too slow for lots of mental health distresses, and too slow to help much with addiction craving. The other tool in mental health and addiction was talk therapy. Call it what you like, counselling, psychotherapy, CBT, whatever you like, but it's basically just talking. And that had two big problems. The first problem was it's too damn slow. When I saw a new patient who had 3 major mental disorders and a heroin addiction, it would take me an hour to really fully understand that patient, and I didn't have an hour for everyone. So talk therapy is too slow, and secondly, it's too expensive. To be a therapist, you have to have at least a 4-year Bachelor of Psychology, or preferably a 5-year Master of Psychology, or a 6 or 7 year PhD in psychology or therapy, or and to be a psychiatrist takes 10 or 12 years. You have to have a 6-year basic general medical degree, a couple of years general medical practice, and then 3, 4 or 5 years of postgraduate training in psychiatry. So 10 or 12 years. So these people were pretty smart. They'd done a lot of work where they weren't earning money, and they had to be paid well, otherwise we'd be even shorter of mental health care workers. So they had to be paid well. So talk therapy was too slow and too expensive. So there were long waiting lists, and on waiting lists people get worse and worse and worse. They start out with a mental health problem, they then have employment problems, they have alcohol and tobacco and drug problems, they have divorces, they have all sorts of problems, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And so if I saw someone who'd been in trouble for 20 years, it was a massive amount of work. The time to treat mental health disorders is when they start. When they start, it's much simpler. It's usually one main thing, and you can see what the cause was, and you know why it happened, and you can help the person get better fairly quickly and fairly thoroughly. But when you see people who've been in trouble for 20 or 30 years, it's a massive amount of work, and they almost never get enough help to get properly better. So, what was the solution? Well, the solution was to have a lot better tools, and tools that were very convenient, that people could use themselves to help themselves. So over the years I developed 8 tools, with a couple half developed, 10 altogether, and some came and went. Some of the early tools we don't use anymore, but the tools are 83 under a minute videos, because my first video 15 years ago was about 10 minutes, and I don't watch 10-minute videos anymore, so they have to be under a minute. So to cover everything you need a lot of them. So 83 under a minute videos was the first tool. There's no faster, easier, better, cheaper, lower cost way to understand your mental health than to watch the right videos. And then of course there was websites, and I had a website, well, I had a number of websites. The second last one was called mentalhealthvideos.a-to-z.com, and it had everything on it, about 14 pages. That was too long, so I had to make a short one. So now my I've got a second one, which is smilefixit.com, smilefixit.com, and everything's there in 2 pages, and there are links you can tap to go to get more detail about whatever is of interest to you. But you can get the bird's eye view from the very short website. But if there are 83 1-minute videos, which videos do you watch? Because you got these problems, they've got those problems, someone else has got other problems, and for most people about 6 of those videos are really pertinent to their particular group of problems. So then we started with a 20-question checklist, but that was too slow and cumbersome, and finally I managed to develop an app. So now we have the Mental Fix-It app. The Mental Fix-It app. And if you answer its questions, which you can do in 4 or 5 minutes, it then tells you which 6 of our 83 videos to watch. So in 10 minutes you can go a long way. In 10 minutes, first of all, you tap on App Store or Google Play on your phone, and in a few seconds download the free Mental Fix-It app. Then in 4 or 5 minutes you answer its questions and get an instant report. The instant report tells you which videos to watch, which 6 videos to watch that will help you most with your particular problems. You can watch 6 under a minute videos in 6 minutes. So in 10 minutes you've made a lot of progress. But everything we do, we usually end up having to improve it. So the Mental Fix-It app was originally 38 questions, which took 10 minutes, and people weren't prepared to spend 10 minutes. I thought 10 minutes was reasonable, because if you go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, you're there for 3/4 of an hour or an hour, so 10 minutes. But anyway, so then we reduced it from 38 questions to the 19 most important questions, which you can do in 4 or 5 minutes. And we're now working very hard on reducing it to a 2-minute questions. You can still answer all 33 questions in about 8 or 9 minutes if you've got time, but if you want to, you can just answer the first 14 in about 2 minutes and get an instant report. And the instant report tells you 4 things that are very important. Firstly, which videos to watch, because that's the fastest and best way to understand your problems, is to watch the right videos. Secondly, it gives you a list of all your problems in descending order of score, because when you tap your answers, you tap a score. And it's very important to know what all your problems are, and that's one of the problems with talk therapy. It's so slow that you usually don't get past the biggest or one or the biggest 2 problems, but nearly always there's 4 or 5 problems. Some are only 10 or 15% of your problem, but they're still a problem, and you need to know everything, and it's the order of importance. And the instant report of the Mental Fix It app tells you what all your problems are. We don't decide what your problems are. You decided them by what you tapped on, and you decided the score, and it just gives you this instant list of the things that you regard are your problems and their order of importance. And thirdly, the instant report tells you which medicines are probably going to be the best for your combination of problems. And finally, there's a total score graph, because each time you do the Mental Fix It app check, which you should do often, because every time you do it you get clearer and clearer and clearer about what the problems are and what the solutions are. Once is not enough, you need to keep doing it often, and every time you do, the app adds up the scores of all your problems to a total score and puts that in a graph, and that graph of your total scores tells you whether you're getting better or not. If you're getting better, if the treatment you're having is working, then the graph shows the improvement. If there's no improvement in the graph, then the treatment's not working. So you then have to review the treatment and either have more of the treatment or different treatment. And that's very important. It's so important to get fast feedback on whether the treatment you're having is working. Of course, we feel to some extent, we know whether we're getting better or we're not getting better, but this is a more exact way of knowing that. So that's 3 tools: under a minute videos, smilefixit.com website, the Mental Fix It app, and the 4th thing is live streaming, which we're doing now, which I do 4 times a week, because a lot of people like to watch live streaming. So on Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Perth time and 9 a.m. Sunday Perth time, I do about I used to do an hour and a quarter, but I'm so busy that I'm having to make it less than an hour now mostly. In retirement, I'm working between 50 and 60 hours a week on this program, because I may not last very much longer and I got to get it finished. So the 4th tool is live streaming, and unfortunately 7 p.m. Perth time is 7 a.m. New York time and 4 a.m. LA time, and God knows what in London and Norway and Sweden, where we get quite a lot of viewers. So that's why I now do Sunday morning instead of Sunday evening, because The Sunday morning is a better time. It's the evening in the Northern Hemisphere, and sometimes more than half of our viewers are in the Northern Hemisphere. The fifth tool is powder medicine. Why powder medicine? Because instead of swallowing tablets or capsules which take half an hour to an hour to start to work, you can have powder medicine and drop it on your tongue and suck it, don't swallow it, and it gets into the bloodstream in your tongue very quickly and starts to work in 5 minutes and is working strongly in 10 to 15 minutes. Your tongue is pink or red because the blood vessels are so close to the surface, and if you sprinkle thousands of tiny grains of medicine powder on your tongue and suck it, it starts to help you in 5 minutes. And then you soon develop what's called taste conditioning, and then as soon as you taste the medicine, it starts to work. So it's working in seconds, and that's far more helpful for mental health distresses and for addiction craving, which you're trying to avoid. And having the powder in a bottle with a little scoop was a bit awkward, so I developed pocket powder medicine dispensers. So now you can get your medicine in the dispenser, have it in your pocket. Anytime you start to feel anxious or you start to feel panicky or whatever you feel, angry or whatever, you just whiz that thing out and put powder on your tongue and it starts to work in seconds. The seventh tool is a heartbeat meditation aid. Meditation is so valuable for mental health and addiction problems, but the people who benefit most for it have a lot of difficulty learning to meditate. Meditation is a habit. It's a habit in which you focus on either a word or your breathing, which allows you to forget all your troubles, and you just have 5, 10, 20 or 30 minutes of rest. And in that time, everything calms down and your brain starts to work better and you feel better and things are better. But the people who are most disturbed and who would most benefit from meditation have great difficulty learning to do it. But your heartbeat is loud and strong and clear and much more attention grabbing than what your breathing or a word is. So I just cut stethoscope short, and that's the listening part. You just put that down over your upper left chest and listen to your heart, and the loud heart, strong heartbeats are much more attention grabbing and make it much easier to have a rest from all your troubles. If you want a heartbeat meditation aid, we can send you one anywhere in the world for $25 plus postage. The eighth tool, which we're only halfway there, is another powder dispenser. This powder dispenser doesn't dispense medicine, it dispenses fruit powder. And we're harnessing taste because humans, from the day they're born to the day they die, are putting stuff in their mouth and they love it to taste good. And fruit powder is becoming very popular for making desserts and thick shakes and so on. So I thought if we can have a pocket dispenser that gives a bigger dose, the dose of the medicine dispenser is too small, but this gives a dose of about 1 ml, and you drop it on your tongue. Then when you get the urge to do something that you don't want to do, whether it's smoke or drink alcohol or take heroin or whatever, you put drop the lovely tasting fruit powder on your tongue, and you focus on the pleasure of that and try to forget the other thing. And when the taste starts to fade, you have another lot. It only costs a few cents. It's not like a block of chocolate costs you $5. So, and that's how you break bad habits. You make habits by doing them over and over and over again until the electrical and chemical messages involved are strong, and the activity becomes an automatic unconscious habit, which is hard to stop. And including sleep, 60 to 65% of our life is habits. So habits are very important. So you make a new habit by repeating something so often that it becomes strong and automatic and unconscious. But how do you break a habit? Everybody should know how to break a habit. I never heard how to break a habit. Oh, just grin and bear it. Often doesn't work. But if what you do is every time you think of doing something you don't want to do, you do want to do it and you don't want to do it, you want to have a smoke but you don't want to smoke, you have a lovely taste instead, and focus on that lovely taste. And if you can delay doing the habit and do a bit less of it, the underlying electrical and chemical messages get weaker. And when they get weaker, you can delay longer and reduce a bit more. And then the messages get weaker. And eventually it gets weak enough for you to be able to quit. So, for instance, with smoking, if you're smoking 20 cigarettes a day and you want to stop, it's pretty damn hard. People say, oh, just go cold turkey. It was that Ronald Reagan's wife said, just say no. It works sometimes, but not very often. So what you do now is, when you get the urge to smoke, you whiz out and drop the lovely tasting powder on your tongue and focus on that. And then another taste and focus on that. And you delay the smoking by 15 minutes. And you only smoke 3/4 of the cigarette and then throw it away. So when you delay it and reduce it, the urge weakens. And when the urge weakens a bit, you can delay it for 20 minutes instead of 15 minutes. And you can smoke 2/3 of a cigarette instead of 3/4 of a cigarette. And we found that way people can usually reduce their smoking by 1/4 about every 1 to 3 weeks. And somewhere between 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, they can just quit, because they reduce it by 1/4, and then by 1/2, then by 3/4. And then some days they can miss and sometimes they don't, but soon it's gone. And the problem with stopping smoking is relapsing, because so many people who do it the hard way and eventually manage to stop, but then something happens and they have one smoke and they're gone. So what you do is you carry the fruit powder around in your pocket all the time, and you keep on. If you're ever tempted to smoke again, you just whiz it out and have the taste instead. Tool number 9, which I started on but which I then abandoned, I'll do it later, I call phone treasure. And the idea is to have lots of lovely stuff on your phone that you really enjoy. And you got your phone in your pocket wherever you are, and if you need a bit of cheering up, or you've got to distract yourself from something, whiz it out and look on your phone at something that you love, or listen to something you love, your grandchildren, or beautiful mountains, or beautiful rivers, or beautiful buildings, or racing cars, or cats or dogs, or whatever your thing is, and that acts a little bit like the tasty powder on your tongue. It helps as a distraction. So that phone treasure, we'll do it again later, will help people to stop bad feelings, to have good feelings instead of bad feelings, and to make new habits and to break bad habits. So why did I stop doing the phone treasure? I stopped doing the phone treasure because I realized that what we really need was scrolling. And I'm very excited about this. So now I've been working flat out for about 6 weeks on what I call Mental Fix-It Scroll Plus. Mental Fix-It Scroll Plus. TikTok has over 1 billion viewers per month visiting its site, and a lot of them just scroll. Scrolling or swiping is so popular. I think TikTok only started in 2016, and to have over 1 billion visitors a month, that's just unbelievable. So I thought I got to make a tool that involves swiping or scrolling, because the advantage of scrolling or swiping is you can go through so much in a short time and you can find things. A tragedy for me was that the biggest problem for my family, which was transgenerational trauma, I didn't discover transgenerational trauma till I was in my 80s, because when I was a medical student, the books had 1,000 or 1,100 or 1,200 pages, and things got lost. You didn't learn everything. There was just so much detail. But with swiping or scrolling, you eliminate the detail and you just go very fast. But the problem is you need detail. So my idea was to combine scrolling or swiping with detail. So what you do is I've got about 92 items, 92 problems or solutions for mental health and addiction, and they're in a list, and you can swipe them, and whenever you come to one that you think is important, oh, there's one on ADD, that's important to me, well, just you can immediately tap a little video, a micro video, and see a 6 to 15 second information on that item of interest to you. So and then you keep swiping and you find another thing and you see a little video on that, and whenever you stop, there are 92 items in 10 groups. You can do about one group a minute, and you can do 1 or 2 or 3 groups if you've got 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, or you can, if you've got 10 minutes, you can do the 10 groups, which is better, but a lot of people don't have 10 minutes or have difficulty focusing for 10 minutes, so that you can just do whatever, and when you've answered 14 questions, anywhere from there onwards, you can press report button and get a report on the questions you've done so far, and then you get the videos that will help you with what you've done so far. So I think I've very nearly finalized what the 92 items are. I just finished that today, or it's not finished, it's never finished. Every day I go through it again and do it a little bit better. And I've got about 2/3 of the videos done. There'll be 2 kinds of videos. There's the 83 under a minute videos, and we've got about 10 new ones of those to film. And then there'll be 92 6 to 15 second videos. So when you've finished your 1, 2, 3, 6, 8 or 10 groups of scrolling, you can press an interesting button, and the interesting button will give you an immediate report on all the short videos, the 6 to 15 second videos that you thought were interesting enough to watch. So then you can watch them again. You can watch them 1, 2, 3 or 4 times. And if you decide that something that you did watch is not really a problem for you, you can delete that. And each of those micro 6 to 15 second videos has a link to a 1 minute video. So if when you looking at the interesting ones, you watch the 6 to 15 second video again, you can tap on the 1 minute video and see 1 minute. And then so it depends on how much time you've got and what your ability to focus and concentrate, how long that is, but you do as much as you can and then you get a report. And eventually when you redo the scroll, it doesn't ask you questions that were not a problem for you or only a little problem for you. It asks additional new so you do the first 14 questions in about 1 or 2 minutes, and then maybe only 6 of those things are of interest, so the other 8 don't get asked again, but you get asked the next time you do it. You get the 6 questions that were of interest plus 8 new questions, and you keep on progressing till you've seen all 33 questions. And at any time, if you want, if you've got time, you can go to the Mental Fix-It app and do that, which is longer, and get 6 videos and do that. Now I want to tell you some of the things in this new tool, the Mental Fix-It Scroll Plus. What most makes us safe and happy and healthy is being mentally healthy. Having good feelings, normal warning feelings, good thinking and good habits. By the way, I discovered normal warning feelings doing this. I'd always thought that you had good feelings and bad feelings, but you have warning feelings which are not very nice, but they're very important. The warning feelings are loneliness, which tells you that you need more relationships. And loneliness is not nice, but if you didn't feel lonely, you wouldn't probably realize you didn't have enough good relationships. And there's sadness, and sadness is not very nice, but sadness tells you that you need to grieve. You've had a loss. You need to grieve to get over it. If you just suppress it, you won't get over it. It'll stay in the back of your mind. And the third warning feeling is anger. Anger tells you something is wrong, something is not right, something's got to be changed. It's got to be done differently, or it's got to be done instead of being neglected. So warning helps you to know that something needs to be changed, and gives you the energy to change it. And the fourth feeling is carefulness. Carefulness. You feel the need to be careful. That tells you that what you're dealing with is very important, and there's some risk that you'll get it wrong. So be careful. So anyway, that's a little aside. Warning feelings. So to be mentally healthy, you have good feelings, normal warning feelings, good thinking and good habits. With bad mental health, you have bad feelings. You have warning feelings, but you ignore them, you don't do anything about them. And you have screwy thinking, and you have bad habits. well, of course, that's a fairly extreme case. But, so what most makes us safe and happy and healthy is being mentally healthy. But almost everyone's feelings, thinking and habits are sometimes hurt. Our great need is fast, very effective, convenient, free mental self-help tools. So I developed the Fast Mental Fix-It Scroll Plus. Anyone will be able to use anywhere, anytime, in 2 minutes. You just soon you'll just be able to tap the App Store or Google Play and download it. The 10 groups are, first one is first aid for mental distress. Some people have just got to have first aid. The second group is bad feelings are what usually trouble us most, 15 items. The third group is to be happy and healthy, grow your mental health, 10 items. The fourth is downer mental health problems, 11 items. The fifth is upper mental health problems, 9 items. The sixth is good relationships are almost as important as mental health, 9 items. The seventh group is families, 8 items. The eighth group is habits, 8 items. The ninth group is upper and downer addictions, 11 items. And the 10th group is upper and downer medicines. So after you're scrolling, you scroll as much as you can, but you then tap interesting and you get a list of links of all the videos you watch, and you can watch them again and you can delete them if you realize they're not really important to you. And then you can, each of those micro videos has got a link to a 1-minute video. You can watch the 1-minute video. And then at any time you can tap very interesting and get a list of the links to all the videos you watched more than twice. So you end up with a list of videos that you watched more than twice, which are the important ones, and that's a great help. As an example, in group 2, bad feelings are what usually troubles us most. The first item is understand and fix your bad feelings and develop more and more good feelings. The second item is most persistent bad feelings are caused by 11 common, findable, fixable mental health disorders. The third item is we produce 25 feel-good happy chemicals in our brain, glands and gut. The fourth item is our feel-good chemicals also boost our disease-fighting immune system, which also makes us healthy and happy. The healthier you are, the happier you are. The fifth item is smiling and laughing boost our feel-good chemicals, so smile often to feel good and to boost your immune system and be healthy. That's all I've got time for tonight. I'll be back again Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Perth time and 9 a.m. Sunday time. Please send me on whichever platform you watch, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook or Instagram. Please send me your comments, questions and criticisms, and I'll reply, or email me at healthestuff@gmail.com, healthestuff@gmail.com. If you don't remember that, just look at the website smilefixit.com and you'll find the email there. Bye.